Hi, my name's Greg Herriford, and I've had the privilege and the blessing of working with Teen Mission USA and Mission Journeys for 20 years. And I came to Mission Journeys as a 23-year-old young man many years ago, and I was just out of college and had worked for about a year and was looking for a little bit more fulfillment and purpose in my life as a Christian, and came to work for Ken Henderson. And I didn't know Ken, but I knew his wife Carol from, we all attended Gardenside Christian Church. But Ken was traveling so much, he had no idea who I was. And so began working with them in 1995, and I had an experience to take some short-term mission trips that had a great impact on my life beginning between my junior and senior year of college. And God spoke into my life in some really, really pretty incredible ways that really alterred the course of my life in a very, very positive way. When I came on board with Teen Mission USA, the Mission Journeys outreach was 10 years old. They had begun sponsoring some mission trips. And I wrote down just some numbers here. In 1995, as I said, the Mission Journeys outreach was 10 years old. They had taken about 1,000 volunteers short-term mission trips, about 70 work witness type of trips to 40 locations in 15 different countries. So it was a pretty awesome outreach. And one of the roles that I had initially on was kind of like a programming projects director in the field with the mission trips to develop the Mission Journeys program. And during the time that I had the privilege to serve with that program, God really showed us a lot of incredible blessings. And it had anything to do with me. I think God did great things in spite of me. And it was just kind of an incredible time where you had a lot of opportunity for travel and different things like that we had not seen, like as a country, or as the churches began kind of buying into this idea of doing meaningful youth ministry. I think the whole field of youth ministry had probably had 20 years to kind of mature a little bit. There's nothing wrong with going to Kings Island and doing some fun type things, but I think a lot of youth ministry was looking for something meaningful to get their youth group and adults from their church involved in. So I think a lot of things came together where you had youth groups, youth ministries, churches looking for opportunities, and then you had the resources available for them to go do that. You had the technology, the transportation, the airfare, just a lot of things open up. And it was one of those things that it just blew up. I mean, exploded as far as the number of people going. In 2010, I wrote this down just to get some ideas. We'd had 1,000 volunteers in the first 10 years. In 2010, so that's 15 years later, we had over 5,000 volunteers that had gone on 550 plus mission trips to 39 different countries. And then we'd gone to 16 different states here in the United States as we've been expanding our stateside trips. It kind of peaked in 2007, where we had sent a lot of groups down to the Gulf South area following Hurricane Katrina. In 2007, we had 45 teams and about 900 volunteers. So, man, this was just, we saw so many things taking place. And it was at that, somewhere around 2010, 2011, sometime around there, I'm at this preachers gathering that we have once a year down at Lake Cumberland. And a fellow that had come in to speak from out that had been in Lexington, but he was preaching in another area. He shared in his message about going with Greg in Teen Mission to Poland. And so I had a minister friend come up to me after the session and said, "I'm mad at you." And I'm thinking, what have I done? He said, "I'm mad at you because I didn't know I've known you for several years now. I want to go with you to Poland or somewhere." And I was like, "Well, why not?" He said, "The reason I never asked is because Teen Mission USA, I'm not a teen. I thought it was just for teenagers." So that got me thinking a little bit. And not that we were not, Teen Mission USA and the sacrifices that Ken has made, the ministry, the investment, the traveling youth ministry that took place from 1970, even predating 1970 as far as Ken's traveling youth ministry. There was awesome things, putting creation books, thousands of creation books into public schools, speaking. We were so proud of that. But most of what we were doing were the mission trips, man, because there were so many people interested. It was we've got a skeleton crew. We had college age interns in the summer trying to help us, and we had volunteers. And so we just had a skeleton crew trying and pulling this off with God's grace and God's help. We decided that to give a better picture of who we were and what we're doing, perhaps Mission Journeys, which was an outreach ministry, okay? Like we've been saying, Teen Mission USA, and then Mission Journeys was an outreach. Maybe we needed to shift. Rather than coming up with a new name, we already had the name. That was the other thing. I began thinking of new names, and Dennis Herco, who I'll talk about in just a minute, he said, "You've got the name Mission Journeys. I'd love to have that name." Dennis is a missionary him and his wife serve in Jamaica, West Indies. And so I was like, yeah, we've got the name. So we put Mission Journeys rather than like a secondary outreach ministry. We kind of moved it on the top shelf. So we began promoting it as Mission Journeys, an outreach of Teen Mission USA with that name still there because a lot of people knew what that was. So that's kind of how Mission Journeys became probably the top shelf because that's what we were doing the most of. The influence, I do want to speak of that for just a few moments. The influence of these trips. Sometimes you as you get older, you get skeptical. You get a little jaded and couldn't this money, man, we're raising all this money. Couldn't we just send it there? Would it be more effective? These questions come up. All I can tell you is this, that the impact has been huge. There's no way. I was thinking about this in preparation of being asked to come and speak to you about this. There's just so many ways that I've seen the impact of these mission trips have. It's you can't even hardly measure it. I know one of the things that we want to do, we want to be pleasing to God, and we want to go make ourselves available just like Isaiah, "Here I am, Lord, send me." But the teams always want to be challenged to become more involved in missions. We've certainly done that. There's numerous people. Myself is somebody that had I not gone on a short-term mission trip when I did between my junior and senior year in college, God used that as a time to speak into my life. It changed my path of being involved in ministry. Today, I'm a preaching minister now in my time after leaving Mission Journeys, Teen Mission USA. There's so many people that have that was a place pointing them. That very first mission journey team to Haiti in 1985. I was just looking over some past newsletters and things that we published. Off of that team, Dennis and Mary Herco led the team. Dennis was projects director for Teen Mission USA at the time. He and his wife go to Jamaica as full-time missionaries. We had Tom Muller, who was on that team from over in Winchester, Kentucky. Tom and his wife, years later, just not not that too long ago, would start a stateside mission housing um, ministry where they would house missionaries on furlough over in that area, line up transportation for them. It's called the Valley of Baca. So Tom, he created a mission heart in him. And then there was a guy from that area who, in fact, signed up to go to Haiti and self-admittedly said later, I didn't even know where Haiti was. I had to go look it up. But Kendall Johnson fell in love with Haiti, and he would go back to Haiti as a missionary with Northwest Haiti Christian Mission. And he would marry a Haitian lady named Yvose. And Yvose and Kendall Johnson would serve as missionaries there. Now, one of the other things that we hopefully do with our trips, beyond encouraging the team members to go to be more missions minded, is we want to encourage the missionaries that are serving there. And I tell you what, I've seen some times where the missionaries serving, they were ready to throw in the towel, because this is hard work. We kind of we think of it, oh, this is real glamorous. They're in an exotic place. But this is what I draw the comparison to. If we're seeing things here like spiritual, like if we're spiritual doctors, we're seeing a lot of people with head colds. They're in spiritual ERs. They're in an emergency room. There's nobody with head colds. There's people coming with appendages hanging on, and it's stressful. It's incredibly stressful in many of these mission locations. These folks feel, especially, before technology really took off and were able to be connected, they felt really disconnected. These teams were a great source of encouragement. And I know in some cases, it kept some missionaries on the field and hanging on and going. And Kendall and Yvose, when they were in the field, they were very discouraged. In about 2007, 2008, Chuck Perry, a volunteer of Mission Journeys, he went to take a trip. He said, I'm just coming to encourage you. And that trip, Chuck encouraged them. And it began building up. Chuck brought two men back, and they helped build onto the church there in a little village in northern Haiti. Central, but northern Haiti, in Dufay. And that thing grew and grew. And we began a school there. The school began because it was an idea of the two fellas that went with Chuck. There was another guy named Chuck. I know this sounds like, this is my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl from Newhart. But follow me here. Donnie, Chuck, and Chuck. And from that idea, they said, you know what? We're going to sponsor a little boy. But then they said, hey, for just a little bit more, we can build and hire a couple of teachers now that you all built this church. So a school began there. Well, in 2010, Kendall fell ill and passed away. But before he passed away, Mission Journeys decided to take that mission under its wings. And man, there were some great things that happened. That's difficult. It's like when you have somebody moving in with you for a while, you're kind of like, oh, this is driving me crazy. But it's something that you need to do. Man, it's difficult, it can be uncomfortable, but more than one organization but there was wonderful things, man, that happened. Kids got fed. A feeding program started. We started packing meals here, and kids got fed in Haiti that wouldn't eat. Kids got an education in Haiti that wouldn't have been educated. And that happened because people here in Kentucky and in churches, they decided to go because Chuck Perry went. Chuck saw a couple of other guys. They went. That grew, and now that mission is healthier, and it's spun off on its own. We just got great reports back just this past weekend from a recent trip there, and so that's just one story, just one of how a missionary was ready to throw in the towel and maybe give up, but God has blessed it. And lastly, I'll leave you with this. The people at the locations are blessed. We don't even know all those stories, but I'll leave you with one last story. And this is in South Dakota. Now Mission Journeys goes to South Dakota now, but this was a different mission. This was probably 15 years ago. We do a lot of work with Native American missions and on Native American Indian reservations, but this was in South Dakota on the Crow Creek Sioux Reservation. And a team was there working, and they had dug out a big hole that was going to be the foundation for like a community center that was going to be church, worship, and a multi-purpose building for this mission. A guy that didn't have any idea. He got transferred there next to this mission to this Indian reservation, and suddenly he realized over a period of time he and his wife became missionaries there. So we were sending groups out there to help. And story goes that this Native American man, and suicide rate very, very high on Native American Indian reservations, a lack of hope, a loss of hope without Christ. It's just Satan's got a stronghold there. This fellow pulls up next to the river, and there's I think it's the Missouri River. Don't hold me to that. I think the Missouri River runs down through there, and he pulls up next to this river with a bottle of whiskey and a gun. I won't sugarcoat. He's going to blow his head off. He's going to commit suicide. Very depressed. He hears a tap. Piques his curiosity long enough, just like you would like in a hostage negotiation situation, try to get the guy's mind or the person's mind off of it. He's curious. He goes over and looks, and he sees obviously people, white people, people from not Native American people there working with. What are they doing? He gets to asking, and he finds out this is a church that's being built. Somebody on the team says, "Hey, you want to help? We could use some help." This guy did have some construction background, and so he stayed. He stayed to lunch. "Hey, do you want to eat lunch with us? We got some." "Yeah, you sure it's no problem?" "Yeah." He stays. "Hey, you coming back tomorrow?" Yeah. "Hey, we do our team time and our devotions at night. Come and have it." So anyway, he doesn't commit suicide. He keeps coming back all week. Well, they leave, and they find out that this guy accepts Christ. He's baptized. Several of the people come back on another trip the next year. When they get there, and the church building, the construction is coming along, guess who they work with, who is now the construction manager for the mission? You got it. Same guy. It changes lives. It changes lives. I mean, God is good. And just that blessing, the impact is huge. And I pray that Mission Journeys will continue impacting individuals. The people that go make themselves available. They are blessed, but hopefully they can be a blessing, and God can use them to not only encourage missionary serving, but encourage and strengthen the people in these locations that are in darkness. And it's an awesome thing. I say congratulations for Team Mission USA for 50 years, Mission Journeys for 35 years. God bless, and keep on doing a great work.